All right, so recently there was a video that was released that has gained a lot of attention online and also got some national coverage. Actually got picked up by Market Watch, and there was a big conversation on whether or not we're seeing Zillow and some of these iBuyers that are out there, and if they are actually manipulating the market with what they are doing currently. And we're seeing a lot of that here in the Phoenix market as well. So in this video, we're going to bring Rudy on. He's going to come in. We're going to have a discussion, talk about that video a little bit, talk about the article, and talk about overall what's going on, what we're seeing with some of the iBuyers, how they are affecting the market here in Phoenix, and what we're potentially anticipating going forward. So if you are looking to find out a little bit more about how that's affecting us here, then stay tuned. What's up, everybody? It's Greg Corbett with the AZ Lifestyle Group right here in Phoenix, Arizona. If this is your first time to this channel and you're looking to find out everything you need to know about what it's like living in and or moving to the Phoenix metro area, including competing with some of these iBuyers, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new video. We are helping people from all over when it comes to finding the best places and neighborhoods to live here, and we absolutely love it. So if you're even thinking about making a move and you need any assistance whatsoever, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back when it comes to moving to the Phoenix metro. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and bring in our good friend Rudy Lopez with Loan Depot. Rudy, good morning, sir. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. We haven't really done this in a little while. It's long overdue, but man, this topic came up recently, and I had seen this video last week, and I sent it over to you yesterday to see if you had seen it. I think it's gained in popularity. There's a lot of people talking about it. It's gained national news with this article on Market Watch that we're going to discuss. So what was your first impression after watching that video?
Yeah, I like this guy. He's a funny guy. I kind of want to hang out with him, get to know him a little better. He seems to be have some interesting points of view that I think are justifiable. And so I think it'll be a fun conversation to talk a little bit more about what he discussed and kind of what we think about it.
Yeah, and for those of you, I mean, a lot of people have seen it. We'll leave a link to it. It's a real estate agent in Nevada that put this video together. I originally saw it. It got shared. It's a TikTok video. I'm not on TikTok, but it got shared through our local real estate network that we have here in the Phoenix area. People shared it on that just to kind of get opinions on what was going on. Obviously, that took off, and then I think somebody else picked it up through another social network, and it just kind of spread like wildfire. But it really got my attention when Market Watch picked it up, and kind of hearing some of the opinions from an overall perspective of how not only Zillow is affecting what's going on, but iBuyers in general. And it's definitely something that I'm seeing, and we're all seeing. I don't think it's any surprise that it's hitting the Phoenix market, Rudy. But it's interesting. Did you get a chance to read the article too? Because I think some of the people's opinions on what they think and why they don't think that it's having a big influence, I think is a little bit jaded.
Yeah, I do too. And you're right. Phoenix has been the epicenter for a lot of this iBuying stuff throughout the years. So if there is some validity behind what he's claiming, then I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix is one of the major cities that it's possibly happening in. So yeah, there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of frustration too from the side of the buyers, which we'll get into a little bit more, but I can see why, everyone's pulling out all the stops in terms of, the little guys aren't able to win because the big guys and the big corporations are, taking over. So I can see where the frustration's coming from.
Well, and it's helping certain sellers. So it's not hurting everybody. Some people, it's very helpful too. But I want to summarize real quick because there's a couple things that he brought up in that video. Again, it's like a 2-minute video. Check it out. But some of the things to summarize, he's basically saying, hey, look, these iBuyers, especially Zillow, he doesn't call out Zillow, but it's obvious what he's talking about. This is a company that has been around for the last, I don't know, 15 years. It feels like I don't remember how long Zillow's been around, Rudy, but like they are obviously the number one choice when it comes for potential home buyers to go online and look at homes in other markets and even in sometimes their own market. And so they have a huge amount of data on what people are looking at, what people are looking for. So that just that alone got my attention because sometimes you just overlook that. You think about Zillow getting into the real estate business and buying, selling homes. Just that on the surface sounds a couple alarms. But when you really think about how much information they have on the general public and what people are looking at, that to me was even a little bit more alarming.
Yeah, and with fintech companies these days, not just the real estate fintech companies, but Facebook, Instagram, you name it.
Yeah.
All these fintech companies, data is more valuable than anything else that they own. So
Yeah.
Our data is just so valuable these days that it does make sense that if you're on Zillow and you're clicking in a particular neighborhood or a house, or once you filter the price points and square footage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that we would be foolish not to think that information, what we clicked on, what we're searching for, is not being used for some sort of reason, either to retarget us or to be used in other manners. And to your point, Zillow is now getting into the real estate brokerage. They have Zillow Home Loans.
Yep.
I don't know yet if they have a title company yet, but if they don't, they're probably going to get into title.
Yes, they do.
There you go. Insurance. I don't know if they're in insurance yet, but if they're not, they probably will be. So it's going to be a conglomerate / monopoly of real estate services, a one-stop shop that is moving very quickly.
Yeah, and I want to get into, so there's so much to get into, but let me give you guys a sneak peek behind the scenes of like why because there's a lot of people, if you go through this Market Watch article, and I'll send it, there's a lot of people that don't think that these companies have a big enough piece of the market to actually be able to manipulate it and actually control it. And then there's obviously the companies themselves, and they quoted somebody from Redfin as far as like, hey, you know what, like it doesn't make sense to overbuy on properties. That's a bad business model, but we're seeing it quite a bit. And let me bring up I'm going to bring up our MLS here because I think this makes a lot of sense when we're looking at what's going on here. So this screen is the iBuyer info. Let's go into active listings that the iBuyers have. And when I say iBuyers, I'm using 3 companies. This is OfferPad, Opendoor, and Zillow. They're the 3 biggest and really the ones that do the majority when we're talking about number of properties that they're taking on. They currently have 813 active listings within the Phoenix market. And then if you go into, I'm just going to go active, and this is Maricopa and Pinal County. If you look at all combined of Maricopa and Pinal County, there's 6,515. That includes that number of 813. So if you take out the 813 from this, you're going to get about 14% is what these 3 iBuyers, they hold 14% of the active listings right now when it comes to what we have in the Arizona market. So I find that to be a little alarming.
That's a larger number than I anticipated.
Yeah.
And it's not going to slow down, in my opinion. The more and more people prefer convenience, the more and more the option to sell or even buy through them is more attractive, I think. My parents in Houston, they're still not comfortable with the whole COVID thing, and
Yep.
they're thinking about selling their house to an iBuyer. And
Yep.
it doesn't matter what I tell them or my opinion of it. They just do not feel comfortable with people storming through their house and
Yep.
and having open houses, and they just would prefer to sell it to an iBuyer. So
Yep.
that's a demographic that they're probably also going to not take advantage of. That's not the right word, but they're going to be able to sell to, and it's just not going to slow down, in my opinion.
But
So
here's the thing.
I'm actually
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. It used to be, from a real estate perspective as an agent, you could talk to people and be like, hey, look, like you might get a potential offer from an investor, iBuyer, that type of thing. They're going to give you an offer, and then they're going to subtract a significant amount of fees. And by the time you net out, versus if you were to actually list your house, you're probably going to be making a significant portion less, or enough to at least go through the process, especially this year when you can get multiple offers on your house. There's no reason to just take one offer and roll. Now we are seeing multiple circumstances where these iBuyers are coming in way over the top, way over the top. And so if I'm a seller, like I'm doing that. Don't do it. Don't just take one offer. Like do your research and make sure you know what the number should be. But if they come in way over the top, like I would do it. I'm telling sellers to do that every day. I don't care if it's like not a listing. Like I'm telling a seller to take that deal. But
Yeah.
it's not going to be like that all the time. And so I think some people think that they might get a better deal than they think going through that way. It's not always like that, but I would definitely tell somebody, especially with what Zillow and OfferPad and Open Door are doing right now here in the Phoenix market. I'm not going to tell anybody to not listen to them.
No, and to your point, right now it's a seller's market, so sellers control the game,
Yep.
and the market's going to eventually shift into a more balanced or even a buyer's market at some point, and it's going to be interesting to see what the iBuyer strategy is at that point,
Yeah.
and and also if they maybe end up holding on to properties and converting them into rental
Yep.
properties as well, which I think they do that too. I'm not really sure
They
if they
are.
do that or not. But.
Yes. Yeah. So the iBuyers are probably, based on the numbers we're seeing, the iBuyers, again, Zillow, OfferPad, Open Door, they seem to be probably they'll pick up a property and then they relist it 75 to 80% of the time, and then about 20 to 25% of the time they are moving those properties on to some of the other larger investors who are looking to buy and hold properties.
Mm-hmm.
That's taking a chunk out of the market. So we're always talking about the market, Rudy, and like what we're expecting, what we're seeing, the supply issues, when the supply is going to grow. It should be interesting because obviously with these iBuyers, that removes a chunk of listings to hit the market away. They relist some of them after they buy them, but then they relist them at these crazy prices because not only do they overbuy on some of these, but then they try to list them for more. There's going to be some pushback, and I think when you look at it, it's interesting too. If you go into what's under contract, if you do typical listings versus the iBuyer listings, there's a lot more active properties staying on the market for a longer period of time with these iBuyers than traditional listings.
You're right. I noticed that there's actually one just down the street from my house in Scottsdale that is an Open Door listing, and it seems like that sign has been up a little longer than normal. And who knows why?
Yep.
Maybe it's overpriced, maybe whatever reason it could be. But you're right. I do see them sitting on the market a little bit longer.
Yep.
But these companies do have enough money to carry that cost a little bit longer than traditional sellers too. So
They do have a lot of money behind them. I think that's the thing. Like, and I think people should know that even though the iBuyers have been around for the last few years, they have not had this significant a piece of the market until the last couple months. Like it's been like kind of monitoring this since end of July going into mid-August, and the amount of offers that they started putting in and getting extremely aggressive for market share. And that's the key to all this. They're looking for market share, and they're like Open Door is the biggest piece of the Arizona market on the iBuyer side, and then you get Zillow number 2, OfferPad's number 3. Well, people don't like to be number 2 and 3. They want to be number 1 as well. They want to know that like if people are looking to sell their house, people are going to contact them first. In order to get that market share, they got to own more properties to get their marketing out there. And so they don't care about profits. They'll buy these houses overpriced, and then they'll sell them for less. And they've got so much money that they don't care if they make a profit. because they're looking just for market share. It's kind of a scary thought to me. I don't know, Rudy.
I think because of the market being as hot as it is, I don't think they're selling a lot of houses for a loss. I do think that the market is, there's a lot of tailwind in the market that's allowing them to sell it for more, or even if it's a combined, portfolio of houses, they're still making a ton of money from it. But
Not so. I think
I,
I agree with you. I agree with you on because I think past track record makes sense. That makes sense. But if we're looking strictly at the last 2 months and what has happened over the last 2 months, and them trying to get more market share and like take a bigger piece, that's where I think people need to keep an eye on this to kind of see what happens going into the future. And Rudy and I, like we've talked many times about whether or not we're getting into these kind of troubled waters when it comes to the housing market. I've always believed, based on all the data and all the numbers that we've seen, is that, hey, we've got enough people looking to move here that are end user buyers, people that want to live here. These are not long-term investors. There's people that want to live here that are putting significant amounts of money down to live here in the area. That when that starts to trend towards these iBuyers, that gives me a little pause.
and the thing is that the market, there's still such an abundance of shortage and supply
Yeah.
that these iBuyers are probably going to be gaining more and more market share because they have the cash, they have the ability to offer more, they have the ability to buy a huge amount of homes, or a portfolio of homes. I just think that maybe because of the market being the way it is with their resources, they're just going to continue to get more and more powerful, more and more larger as the months go by. That's just my personal opinion. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't. And the more and more people become comfortable with selling to iBuyers, I think it's still a relatively new topic. I would think as a seller, COVID, like everything else, COVID just kind of sped everything up and made this type of stuff a lot more common.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious what happens here in the next 6 to 12 months with the iBuyers. The market's not going to slow down anytime soon. At least the statistics don't show that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I kind of compare it to what we saw with like Uber and Lyft, and you got these big companies with a lot of money behind them that don't care if they're making a profit yet. They just want market share, and so they're going to go out and they're going to destroy the competition. When it comes to Uber and Lyft, they wanted to get rid of all the cab companies, and so they offered cheap rates that the cab companies couldn't even compete with. All of a sudden, everybody's riding Uber and Lyft now, and then cab companies go away, and then we had what we had, this past year, where all of a sudden nobody's working. There's not people in Uber and Lyft because of COVID, and then like the rates for Uber and Lyft jumped up like crazy, and so I personally haven't even ridden in one in the past 6 months because of my bad experience of or having like the cost go up as much as it had over the last year. And I feel like that's something that could happen as well, is like people come in, they try to control the market, and then all of a sudden they got in over their head and they don't really have an idea on how to keep their business model going because what they did was not making money to get that ball rolling.
Well, one thing about their business model that is good for them is that they're in title, they're in mortgage, obviously real estate, and if they're in insurance, like I mentioned earlier, like they've got different revenues to generate a profit. So they're willing to probably go skinny on a deal if they're going to
Sure.
buy it or even sell it for a lower profit margin if they
Yep.
know that they're going to capture the loan, if they know that they're going to capture the title policy, they know that they're going to capture revenue in another manner. That's
Sure.
the game. That's the game. They're going to make money somehow. So to your point, yeah, they might be willing to lose money on the sale if they know that they're going to capture you in another way. So that's the game that we're all playing. That's
Yeah.
the competitive advantage that they have.
Yeah, and I get that. That business model has worked in certain. As when I think about builders, like I think about a company like D.R. Horton that has a large hold and large grasp on in a lot of different markets, not just here in the Arizona markets, but and they do their business model is to build as many houses as they can, and then they're going to pick up. It's a numbers game, and they're going to pick up fees. They have their own mortgage company. They probably I don't think they have their own title company, but maybe there's a way that they make their money.
They do.
There is a you know I think a downside to companies who want to try to pick up everything. I find that a lot of times when that happens, the service side for people goes completely down, and you're not getting the service that you typically deserve or expect. So that's where I find I'm a little fearful of that.
Yeah, the service and the expertise and the guidance is definitely going to probably lack in that sort of business model. And I always go back to the fact that buying a home, selling a home, investment property, whatever it is, it's probably for a lot of us the biggest financial decision of our lives.
Yep.
And to just trust it or put your trust in a company that is really just treating you like a number and isn't really trying to look out for your financial well-being. And I know that's kind of a harsh statement, but let's face it, a big company like that, they're trying to get units, they're trying to sell. A huge financial decision like that, I would just be very mindful of who I am relying on to guide me through that process, because it's not something that it's not like going to buy a TV or going to buy a new iPhone.
Right.
People sometimes do more research on the type of dishwasher or washer and dryer that they're going to buy than on what type of mortgage or the house that they're going to buy. So I just think that it's something that you just need to be very mindful of. If you need guidance, then that's probably not going to always be the best avenue.
No, these are companies that would probably hire a phone service that is a robot to answer any calls that come in. And so you call and looking for help for someone, and you get transferred around to every single robot there is, and you hang up and pound your head against the wall because you're not getting anything from them. That's the type of stuff that we're seeing right now for people, these companies to try to run slim and be like, hey, we're going to do everything and do nothing good. So it's fun times, Rudy.
Yeah, it is. But, it's more, just being the local expert, which is what we preach on our videos and our calls. And when we talk to clients, we are your eyes and ears in this market, because there's never been a more important time to have the right team on your side. I say that a lot, but it's true. You have to have a winning team. And luckily, Greg, the people and the clients that you and I have helped over the last 12, 18 months have pretty much said the same thing. They're like, we are so happy that you guys were our eyes and ears in the local market and were able to guide us through the process, because it's a different ballgame right now. You have to. It's changing every single day, and you have to work with people that are evolving as the market is turning.
Well, yeah, and I think people have to believe that we do have their back, and that's why I like to do these videos. It's like I'm not the type of agent who's going to be like, hey, it's always a good time to buy and it's always a good time to sell. That's not my style. I feel like you do a very good job with that too, as far as really breaking down what's good and bad for people, and knowing that we actually care about the well-being of people who reach out to us and making sure that you're making the right decision. It's not hey, we want to get a deal done. That's not how we operate. So there are a lot of moving parts to this, and we want to kind of guide people through. And like I said before, Rudy, like if I got a call from a seller who's like, hey, do you think I should list my house or should I call Zillow? Like we'll go through like step by step to see like what makes the most sense. And I would always say, hey, throw it out and see what they offer and see what's real. Like if they offer something that I think is more than we could get listing wise, I'll be like, take it. That's not always going to happen, but I just want people to know that that's how I operate. I think you operate the same way. It's what's going to be in their best interest.
So even if the fees are higher and they're probably going to net less going through Zillow, I mean, isn't that really at the end of the day what's more important? What they're going to actually take home with them, not necessarily what the offer is?
Well, I'm talking a net offer. Let's get this straight. I'm not talking about, hey, the offer price came in at $500 and then after their fees they're netting like $450. I'm talking about the net offer after everything is said and done. If we were to list it versus if Zillow were to buy it, and it's a significant amount more that Zillow is going to give them, and not have to worry about inspections and doing anything. Because again, what I'm hearing right now is they're coming in with offers that will say, "Hey, we don't care about inspections, hard earnest money, cash, close whenever you want." If that is the case, and again, it might not be the case for everybody, but if that is the case, then I don't mind telling people to go for it.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, we're looking out for what's best for them.
Yeah. Now, I will say this: if you're looking to buy a house, I'm a little bit more cautious on the buy side looking to buy some of these iBuyer properties because they don't look so good to me in a lot of situations. Not 100% case by case, but I'm going to be a little bit more cautious because of what I'm seeing when if you're looking to buy, that's where I might be a little bit more cautious on looking at these iBuyer properties.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any of the listings myself as far as from the buyer's eyes, so I really can't speak on that part. But another thing too is with this market being the way it is, I don't really know that buyers have that sort of luxury. Unless if they do have that luxury, as far as like I'm gonna not look at any iBuyer listings, then that's great. But if they don't have that luxury, I don't know if they can make that decision.
Sure, no, I get that. I get that. I don't think it's like not saying not to look at them all, but I do think that when you start looking apples to apples at some of the iBuyer listings compared to what else is out there, we are seeing a little bit more activity. When it comes to listings, everything's a case by case, so it's hard to really judge for sure. But I personally, what I've seen, I'm a little bit more skeptical of as far as getting involved with them. But might be the right place. You never know.
Yeah, I haven't done any transactions with them, so I'll be curious. As they become more and more popular, if we'll start getting some buyers that actually do go forward with an Offerpad stuff.
Yeah, no, and look, I understand that the certain times there's going to be situations where you've got somebody who likes a property, it makes sense, they found a way to get a price that they want. The seller happens to be one of these iBuyers, and we'll make sure to make it happen. But again, I'm just going off of what my gut feeling is so far. And it's interesting to see some of these new listings pop up that these iBuyers are throwing out there.
Absolutely, that number is pretty high. That they're gaining market share at that rate. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, so we'll wrap this up. We could talk about this all day, Rudy. I'm sure. I would like to hear other people's opinion. Give us a comment if you guys are thinking about this as well, or have seen more information. What are you seeing on your end? What are the questions that you guys have when are going through this process? I would definitely hear from you guys as well. And I think it gets down to like what we really need to kind of keep an eye on this, and that's why give us a call and talk to us, because we really want to keep an eye on what's going on over the next couple months to see if the trend continues and they keep getting a larger market share, because the larger the market share they have, the more they do have the ability to kind of do what they want when it comes to pricing. That should have like an interesting effect going into the next 3 to 6 months. So, Rudy, I appreciate you jumping on and having the conversation. Again, everybody, for those of you, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Let us know if we can help guide you in the right direction. Again, we're here for you. We're here to figure out if what's happening makes sense. We're here to keep give you all the info of what's going on here, so you can kind of keep an ear on what's going on in the Phoenix market from afar, and make sure to check out some of our other videos to kind of get an eye on what's going on with the market and some of the neighborhoods too. So, Rudy, thanks for joining me. Until the next video, we'll catch you guys later.
Thanks, man.